Welcome to Behind the Black Belt, a podcast about the people and black belts of BJJ.
Welcome to Behind the Black Belt. I'm your host, Rich, and my guest today is BJJ Black Belt Matt DeQuino. Now, Matt is the owner and head coach of Beyond Grappling Club in Canberra, Australia. As a fourth degree judo black belt, Matt is also a two-time Australian judo champion, a multiple-time Oceanian champion, and he also competed in judo at the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing. Now, Matt has made a series of DVDs and videos which are readily available through both BJJ and judofanatics.com. And he is also an accomplished author with multiple books about judo, goal setting, and his Olympic journey. Matt DeQuino, welcome to Behind the Black Belt, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about myself.
It's the one time that you have an excuse to do it. I'm going to force you to talk about yourself. No,
it's so funny.
No pressure. All right, Matt. Look, we are very excited to have you on the show, and so many questions to ask you. So let's get straight into it. Matt, why don't you start us off by telling us where were you born and where were you raised?
Yes, I was born in Canberra.
There we go.
Raised in Canberra. So there's not many people in Canberra are born here. They usually move away or move here.
Yep.
I don't know why. It's a great city. It's a great place to raise a family.
Yep.
It's pretty slow. So yeah, I was born and raised in Canberra, Australia.
Awesome. Which part of Canberra were you born in?
So I was born in the south side, so in the Tuggeranong area, and I'm
Okay.
still there. I'm still here now.
Awesome.
Got a club there, that sort of stuff. My whole life is Southside Canberra.
Southside Canberra. And for those podcaster listeners that are listening, you can't see Matt. I see Matt wearing at least two jumpers, maybe a jumper and a jacket. So he is Canberra through and through. That's for sure. So how did your family find themselves in Canberra, Matt?
Yeah, so I think my mum was just been here for a long time, and started having kids, and away we went to school. And my sister's here, my brother's here, my mum's here. So I got a family, 5 minutes away. And if you don't know Canberra, everywhere is close in Canberra. Like we can drive from the furthest house on one side to the furthest house on the other side. Probably takes you 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes. It's a pretty small city. So it's just easy to get around, easy to catch up with mates and that sort of stuff.
Cool. And the sort of south side of Canberra there, is it when you were growing up, is it sort of small kind of country living, or sort of bit of sort of just suburban kind of growing up?
Yeah, just suburban, really. Yeah, just suburban.
And what did Matt DeQuino do as a kid?
Oh, I played a million different sports. So I started judo when I was about 5.5.
Wow.
And then pretty much through my whole life, I did judo and cricket, judo and rugby league, judo and hockey, judo and, so I just played rugby league for 11 years and did judo pretty much from
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what did your parents do?
Well, I never met my dad. He
Okay.
left when I was young. So, but my mum just worked part-time as a receptionist, and then looked after, my brother and my sister and me.
And was she the one that sort of got you into judo at such a young age?
Yeah. Well, she, me and my brother wrestled all the time. I was the youngest.
Okay.
We wrestled all the time, and she was sick of it. So she threw us into a local PCYC.
Yeah.
And I just loved doing judo. I loved it because I'm small. So I went to the Olympics at 60 kilos.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that I could beat bigger, stronger people using just my speed and my technique and that sort of stuff. So
That's cool.
That's how we got started in judo.
That's cool. And tell us about, do you remember judo as a child, sort of what you loved about it? Besides, throwing sort of bigger people around, as a child, it's hard to stick to things for so long. What got you stuck to judo?
I think I stuck with it because one, I was good at it. And most kids like what they're good at.
Of course.
And they're more likely to, and I won tournaments at a young age. And so I think I just like it. And it was just fun, playing British Bulldogs and sumo and all those sort of games.
Yeah.
Was really fun. So, and we got to go to tournaments as a family or as a club and hanging out with your coaches. Now as I got older, my mentors were my coaches, so hanging out with them on trips, and that was just so good.
Awesome.
And, so I think I just followed in their footsteps.
And did your siblings stay in judo as sort of fanatically, if you will, as you did?
Yeah, so my brother probably stopped judo. He won the national championships as a junior a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
My sister as well medaled at like the Oceanian champs and that sort of stuff. But she's involved just at a managerial level.
Okay.
And then my brother, where work takes over as life, gets tricky.
Yeah.
He's just bringing his kids now to judo, and I'll get him on the mat soon. So
Yeah. The best way is probably just to surprise him without him knowing, get him back on the mats.
that's right. That's right.
Awesome. Awesome. And Matt, what kind of student were you at school?
Well, funnily enough, my mum gave me a pack of all like my school reports and stuff like that. So I was just reading through them, and it was funny that in some classes, Matt's disruptive and he talks all the time, and that's pretty much the same. I do talk all the time. And if he applied himself a bit more, but other classes, as Matt's a great student and blah blah blah. And I think it's just mainly like most students, if they like the content, then they behave and they do the they do the work and they have fun. And at the moment, I was a primary school trained teacher, and during COVID, I've gone back to teaching primary school. And yeah, sometimes when kids muck around in my classes, I go, "Is that just because your classes are boring, Matt? Like,
Okay.
Bored? Is that why they're mucking around?" And then sometimes it's easy to blame the kid, but sometimes it's just the teacher's boring.
Was there, as you went through those reports, was there a pattern? Was it the subjects, or do you think it was the teachers themselves that sparked that interest in you at a young age?
Maybe a little bit of both.
Okay.
You definitely remember your good teachers and your bad teachers, don't you?
For sure.
And but I do know all the PE ones were always, the physical education ones were all like, Matt's a great athlete, he tries his hardest and all that sort of stuff. So I pretty much had my identity in sport, really. Like I was a machine. I was good at a lot of different sports and stuff like that. So
yeah. Okay, so you mentioned as a kid you played rugby and you played cricket as well. So it was always judo was always that foundation, but you went off to play these other team sports. Was there a contrast between this individual kind of martial arty sport that you did, and then you do this team sport as well? Was there a difference there, or were they one the same for you?
I think that was the same. Yeah, okay. Like I think I just did it because it was fun, and I was good at them all. But in terms of individual, I don't know. I think it was just fun. It's just what we did.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. And then sort of growing up as a kid, Matt, did you have any sort of role models or inspirations that you kind of looked up to?
Yeah. So all my judo coaches, so Tom and Steve Hill and that sort of stuff. So all my coaches were my role models and my mentors. So I saw them travel the world, competing and training, and they're great people. They're really nice, they're really loving and all that sort of stuff. So they were my mentors. Also another guy, John Watkins, was a good mentor of mine as well, who's now one of the coaches at my club, one of the judo coaches.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, really cool. So actually, I was only saying to my wife yesterday, because my judo coaches run their club, and they now have another business, and I run mine. I nearly gave him a call yesterday, like, I just miss seeing you guys, like I'm just around the place and that sort of stuff. So they were my mentors growing up and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And did you have any sort of aspirations or ideas when you were a young kid, sort of what you wanted to do when you grew up?
Nah, but my mum was always like, you guys can achieve like whatever you want. You just got to work hard and do that sort of stuff. And when I was 12, my coach Tom was trying to make the Sydney Olympics, and he went to US Open and came second. And it was around that time which pretty much secured his spot in the Sydney Olympics. Yeah. And when he came home and was showing us his medals, I was like, that's what I want to do. So when I was about 12 or 13, I think I was 12, I was like, I want to go to the Olympics for judo. Like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, that was really my driving force from then on.
And then at that moment, did that when you made that decision, did that change how you applied yourself to judo or how you approached judo?
No, like I already trained pretty hard. So we trained at a club so I trained at one club, which is a recreational club from pretty much 5 to maybe 8. And the coach said to my mum, your 2 kids are pretty good at judo. Like your 2 boys are pretty good at judo. But if they stay here, we're a recreational club, they're not going to get better. But if you want them to get to the next level, then you need to go to the club up the road where all those guys, some of them have went to the Atlanta Olympics, they're all training for the Sydney Olympics. It's a competitive club. So we moved to that club so we could be around the competitive environment. So yes, I was straight away involved in competition judo at a young age. So we did tournaments from 5.5. I started tournaments at 5.5 years old. Yeah. So I would do 10, 12 tournaments a year, if not more.
Wow. So for the uninitiated like myself, can you explain the difference between a focus on sport or competitive judo versus recreational judo?
Well, I mean, recreational is just, you do it 2-3 times a week. You try to learn all the different techniques and you just kind of go there and have fun.
Mm.
Competitors are a little bit more, they don't have as much fun at training. They still need to have fun, but they're more focused on honing their skills at a higher level. And they just train harder. They fight harder. They do more rounds of sparring.
Yeah.
They're just more intense. And so, yeah, and that's it. So, for example, recreational guys, they're more than happy to throw up 10 triangles. And they're, coach, what's next? Like, what's the next move? Because I've done it 10 times. Where competitors are like, I've done 100 and then I'm just going to keep going. Like, they just rep and repping. And so I guess a bit more focused and higher in level of intensity.
And that sort of concept between a competition focus versus a recreational focus, does that transcend into jiu-jitsu as well, you think?
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time.
Okay.
And that's why, different clubs have competition classes. And where even at my club at the moment, this year before COVID, was the first year I've finally split my beginners class into fundamental jiu-jitsu and advanced jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And my judo is advanced judo and beginner jiu-jitsu or fundamental. So we're starting to separate it because I'm not talking about belts, but just there's competitive people that want to roll for an hour.
Yeah. Okay.
The recreational guys are like, I don't want to roll for an hour. I just want to come in, learn some moves, roll for 20 minutes and go home.
Yeah.
So you can't, after a while, you can't put those two together because the competitors are lions to just wreck the recreational player. The recreational player gets injured. They don't have fun. They want to avoid those people. So you need to funnel the competitive people into a class where they can rip each other's heads off and be happy about it and come back the following night and do it again. So, yeah.
That's fascinating because you're right, because the gym is going to have both of those camps,
Yeah.
Can you have a recreational player that's going to achieve in a competition sort of sense as well, you think? Or if they really want to take it seriously, do they have to have that focus?
I think both. You need to have both.
Yeah.
But I think it all comes down to mindset. So even now, like when I was competitive, like I'm a different person now, but when I was competitive, if someone had me in an armbar, I'd fight to the death to get out of it in training. Now I'm like, tap. Before it's even on, it's just halfway out, I'll just tap out. And
sure.
As a competitor, you're just at a higher level of intensity. But what I mean is now that I'm not competitive, when I compete, if it, like I get to like 70% or maybe 80%, I'm like, oh, that's enough. Like I can't push any further mentally to push through pain. Like I've done that. So I'm still competitive, but not at 100% level. I'm like, So yeah, but you can be recreational all the time, but it just means in tournament, the competitive guys usually just dig that 20% deeper than you. Sometimes you still beat them, but after a while, the competitive guys just kind of just take over competitions. And there's an element where competitions is skill in itself. There's plenty of people who can win tournaments, but actually not that good, but they can win tournaments because it's a skill to warm up and play a referee and all that sort of stuff. So
wow. I've never thought of any of that. That's fascinating. You're describing this competition side, which is intensity, and you describe the physical intensity of just rolling for an hour, but also this mental intensity that has to come with that, where you have to push yourself beyond the 80%, beyond the 90% if you want to be that really true competitor. And if I don't circle back on it, you got to talk about how you can just approach being this competition player as well, like playing the ref and the warm-ups and all that. That's fascinating. And
I was going to say, like, put it into a military context, like the guys that want to make is that the SAS is the one where they do like super hard training. Really, the guys that make it are the only guys that actually want to make it. Mentally. The guys that are like, I'll give it a crack, and if I might get in, they never get in.
Yeah.
The only guys that get in are the guys that want to get in, and competition's the same. The guys that want to win will win. The guys who don't really care, they're probably not going to win.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
It's the same, right? Like the trainings, the SAS selection is super hard to weed out people that don't really want it.
Yeah.
Competition's the same.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
That's why there's blue belts that are wrecking machines, because it is competitive as, and they can wreck black belts because they're like, dude, I'm not gonna fight that hard, man. I'm just gonna tap out and it's all good. Like it's whatever.
I think everyone knows those blue belts.
Yeah. Or white belts. It could be any belt.
Yeah, you're right.
So
that's great. All right. Well, that's really cool. Let's go back to Matt DeQuino. Matt, so when you're at this, your teens, so your high school years, are we talking about, are you the same type of person? You're still real focused on your judo, still focused on your sport. You're still doing well at school through your high school years?
Yeah, I just got my work done. So I would like, if I had an assignment due, I would do it at lunchtime in the library so that I could go training in the afternoon. Training was my focus. So
Okay.
I never let schoolwork, from what I could know, I never let schoolwork get in the way of training.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
sometimes people at my club, ones that want to be competition judo players, be like, oh, I can't come to training tonight because I've got an assignment to do. I'll be like, oh, that's cool. Like, what do you do at lunchtimes? And they're like, oh, I just play soccer with my friends. I'm like, well, go and do your assignment then. Like, I suck them into it. So I ask them what do they do at lunchtime, and then they tell me, okay, no, you do your assignment at lunchtime so you don't miss training. So I was just almost a head in the sand. I only had one focus, really.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's crazy. And so that application to judo again in high school, as your subjects become more complex and diverse, did you apply that sort of same mantra to your school, or was it just sort of, it was just get that done so you can go back to your judo?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
think my UAI was like, I think I got like 65 or something like that, my university entrance. So not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
highest of scores, but I wasn't really interested.
Sure.
I
And
knew I already knew pretty much at like high school, college, that I would try to make the Olympics first and then do university afterwards.
right.
I
Okay.
did university and then. So all depends on timings and ages and all that sort of stuff. But that's what I ended up doing, was Olympics first and then university.
Okay. So the plan in high school was to get to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And tell me, Matt, is that a realistic plan as a teenager because of how well you're doing in your competitions? Is that the sort of metric that 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 study would be something that would happen after this Olympic pursuit?
Everyone's different,
Okay.
really. Like, it's kind of like, my mum wasn't like, you must go to university. Like, some families are like, no, you go and get a degree. Like, culturally, like,
Sure.
I got a degree, your mum's got a degree, you're going to go to uni and get a degree and judo as well. So that's kind of, but in my family, it was just like, yeah, you can go to university. You don't have to do that. Like,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
but in terms of the students, like in my club now, that, because some might say, I want to go to the Olympics, I'd be like, well, talk to your parents about it, because
Yeah.
one, it's a massive, it's a team, family focused thing. It's not just all about me. Like, my mum had to help and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, but I also think being good in high school doesn't really matter. I was just talking to, we had some people over this morning, and I was just saying that heaps of people make state teams and national teams at 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. And by 18, when the going gets tough to make the senior team, they just quit and they don't. Like, I know so many people that were state level, Australian level, rugby, soccer, swimming, netball, basketball. None of them do those sports anymore because they were just naturally gifted at it. And so they got naturally selected. But to make the senior team of any sport, you have to be digging deep and sacrificing stuff. And that's about the age where girlfriends and jobs started coming in.
Yeah.
People, and you meet people all the time and go, yeah, I could have, I played for the junior Raiders or the junior Broncos or the junior Brumbies, and then I just quit. I'm like, yeah, it's because you were just naturally good at it. And then when you started getting other things, it wasn't worth it, so you quit. So even if you are not a winner in teenage years, no one cares. It's actually a long-term game of sticking with it and bouncing back when you do lose and stuff like that.
Well, talk us through, Matt. So your high school years, and then what's the next step for you? So you finish high school.
Yep.
And then where does Matt go from there?
Yeah, so I went to a Arundel College, which was like a talented sports program school.
Okay.
So I obviously got in for judo, and I literally just spent all the time in the gym. So same thing, just got all my. And I was just walking past there the other day, and I can't really remember college. Like, I can't remember it. I think I just spent all the time at the PCYC in the gym with my friends, just hanging out and training and that sort of stuff. So. Yeah, but I guess for like goal setting, I had to make the junior national team. So I did that when I was like in year 10. And then my coach said, you got to make the senior team. So by the end of year 12, I made the senior Australian team. And then I started going overseas to like America and Canada competing.
Okay.
When I was 18, and that would have been 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
And then I was on the shadow team for the Athens Olympics 2004. And then, so I was just trained and ran kids' birthday parties at like a fun factory place.
Yep.
It was a cool job. And then I worked at a service station on weekends.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us about these overseas trips, Matt. Is it sort of going there, staying in hotels, kind of and then you're just there to compete?
Yeah.
And what's the kind of environment like? Because judo has been such an international sport for such a long time in comparison to BJJ. Does it feel like it has an international flavor, or are you all there and you're all doing the same sport, and it doesn't matter what nationality you're from? It's judo is the crux of your trips overseas when you're competing.
Yeah. But I think it's just cool. Like, like if you go to a trip, you'll stay in the official hotel, because if you don't, you get a fine. So you got to stay.
Yeah, right.
So you'll stay in the official hotel, and there's just people from so many different countries, like Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Vietnam, like America, Canada, Russia. Like, it's really cool.
Why would they fine you for not staying in the official hotel?
It is a money spinner.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. All right.
as
And
much
mate,
as it's not, it still is an element where, you can stay here for $400 a night, or and you go, I'll just stay at the hotel down the road. They go, yeah, you can do that because it's $50 a night, but we're going to charge you $400 to stay.
yeah, right. Okay.
Oh,
And is everyone in this, when you go over there, was everyone just like eyeing each other off as you're walking around the hotel? Is everyone just, who's that? Do I have to throw that guy? Do I have to compete against that guy?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's an element of that. Like, is that like in your weight division? Like, oh my gosh, is that Takato, or is
Yeah.
that Nomura? Or like, so you see the guys you watch on TV and that sort of stuff. Like, oh man, and they're in your weight division. Or you look at the first time you look at the drawer and you see like Olympians and world champions in your division.
Yeah.
Wow, like I'm actually fighting alongside them, and it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Were you a bit starstruck by that, or were you just like, all right, here's my next sort of challenge. Here's the level I'm at now.
Yeah, no, I don't think I was ever at that level. Like, it is next level. But yeah, it is like so we went to a place where Jimmy Pedro, who's a famous judo guy, was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's Jimmy Pedro. Dave Camarillo, Dave Camarillo.
Mm-hmm.
So on my first judo trip in a senior team on the Australian team to US Open, when I was in year 12, he flying armbarred and broke my coach's arm.
Oh, wow.
Dave Camarillo did.
Wow.
So that was like, whoa. And then he lost it. And then there was like a guy called Chuck Jefferson and Jimmy Pedro. Got to see all those guys fight. It was just Ryan Risa. It was just cool seeing all these top big names in judo that I kind of saw online for a long time, and all the DVDs. And
yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
On this one trip, we went to Canada and trained at a place. I don't know what it's called, but Nicholas Gill was there. He was like second in the Olympics. He would have been a world medalist a few times. We were playing this game, and he had his shirt off. He's like this big gorilla guy. He's like running at me, trying to tackle me. And I was like, Mum, Nicholas Gill tried to tackle me. It's crazy.
That's great.
It's cool.
Awesome. And you said that you were in the shadow team for the Atlanta Olympics? Athens. Sorry, Athens Olympics. How does that come about to be on the shadow team for that? Is it just a positioning thing, or?
Yeah, so back then to make the Olympics, you had to pretty much qualify through your region, which ours was Oceania.
Yeah.
Now to make the Olympics, it's much harder. You got to be top 18 in the world.
Okay.
So, but back then for Sydney, we all got anyway. For Athens, you had to be the number one in the region. So, and around that time, there was a guy called Frankie. There was my training partner Scott. There was Stephen Geddes, and there was me. And I was the youngest. I was 17. They were all older, like adults. And around that time, I'd beaten them all at a few tournaments and that sort of stuff. So I got on the shadow team. So when I was in year 12, my friend and I went to the Australian Institute of Sport. I got to try on all the uniform, like the Athens gear. And
so you're in it. You're in it. You're ready to go.
And then you leave. You're like, hang on a minute. I haven't even qualified, and I didn't even qualify. Like you stay fake because they suck you in, and then you're like, oh, it was just funny. So
yeah. And what are you the shadow for? So is it in case one of the Australian competitors can't go?
Yeah. So pretty much there was to make the Oceania. So back then to make the Olympics, there was 3 tournaments that you'd get points at to make the Olympics. US Open was one of them.
Yeah.
The World Championships and the Oceania Championships. So you and I and another, everyone in your weight division, you competed all 3 of them, and whoever had the most points would go to the Olympics for the Oceania region. So only one from Oceania per weight division could go.
Yeah.
And US Open, we all lost first round except for Scott. He beat like a green belt.
Yeah.
So and then Worlds, I didn't go, and everyone lost first round. And then Oceania, I was ranked 4th in the division, and he set the top 3. So I didn't get to fight at the last Olympic selection tournament.
Yeah.
In which case I wouldn't have gathered enough points to make the Olympics. So that's how I made the shadow team.
Yeah.
I was close, but not quite to make that last one.
Yeah. And what would have to happen for you to go to the Olympics in at that stage?
Well, pretty much it'd be non-existent. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, like, in order to gather, unless I won the worlds or did something crazy,
Yeah, right.
you pretty much had to gather. There's 3 tournaments to gather as many points as you could.
Yeah.
And you don't do, if you do one of the tournaments and you don't do well, you're probably not going to make it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. No worries. All right. And then, so 4 years later would be the Olympics games that you do qualify for. So talk us through what happens in those 4 years.
Yeah. So pretty much for that, the one beforehand, it's actually a good little segue is the islanders like Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, they actually couldn't get into America. So they couldn't fight at the US Open, in which case they couldn't gather enough points to make the Olympics.
Yeah.
So they changed the selection for us. So it now became the Oceania World Cup, Oceania Championships, and the World Championships were the 3 places you could gather points for. So for our region. So I won the Oceania Championships twice. I think I came maybe 11th or 9th at the Worlds. And anyway, I pretty much won both Oceania Championships, which qualified my sport at the Olympic Games.
Okay.
In Beijing 2008.
Yeah. Okay.
And then for London, they changed it to the top 22 in the world to make the Olympics. And after 2 years, me and another Aussie guy I was like 25th in the world. He was like 28th. And at the very last tournament, whoever won would make the Olympics, and he beat me. So he dropped to 21st in the world, and I went up to like 29th in the world, so I didn't qualify.
Yeah. Okay.
And now it's top 18. It's even harder.
Yeah. And so, how far did you know that you had qualified for the Olympics before the Olympics?
Yeah, so I qualified on Good Friday. We actually the tournament was on Good Friday, which I think was really funny.
Yeah.
In New Zealand, it was on Good Friday. I qualified for the Olympics, and then so it must have been like March, April, and the Olympics was in July. And nothing was open to celebrate dinner. We just had Macca's. It was Good Friday, nothing was open on Good Friday.
Oh, there you go. Nothing like celebrating a physical endeavor than some smashing some Macca's. That's great. And then, so what changes when you qualify for the Olympics in judo?
Oh, firstly you feel relieved that the selection's finished. And then I came home. I had a knee operation to fix my knee because it was injured.
Wow. Okay.
And then we just went overseas we went to Korea for 3 weeks, got absolutely slaughtered, came home for a little while. Then we had like a camp at the AIS, like a national training camp.
Yeah.
We went to Japan for like 3 weeks, and then Germany, and then came home for a bit, and then we went to the Olympics.
Now, is that the traveling abroad for? So I assume this is the people that are going to the Olympics are now traveling abroad.
Yeah. So the Australian Olympic Committee pay for your trips to go all over there.
And is that because the level is just not there in Australia to get what you need to compete at the Olympics? Is that the purpose of the trips?
So when you go to Japan, there's like Japan invented judo, and there's just dojos everywhere. And the bigger dojos, there's like between 100 and 400 judo players. They're all black belts. They all train 6 days a week for 3 hours. And there's all weight divisions. So from 60 kilos up to 150 kilos. So you can essentially send a whole team, and we'll all have 10 to 15 training partners each.
Yeah, right.
So that's
Is there a head coach of that Australian judo team now?
Yeah.
And did you know that person before you qualified?
Yeah. So usually that coach would be with you for the kind of those 2 to 4 year period. Yeah.
Oh, for a 2 to 4 year period?
Yeah, like it all depends because it's a big commitment on their part too, because they don't get paid anything, I don't think.
Yeah, right.
So they've got to take time off work just to go. So we had a coach, Gavin Kelly, who was a reserve for 5 Olympics.
Yeah,
so
right.
Knows what's going on, and so he was our coach right through.
And was he your normal competition coach before you would qualify for the Olympics?
Yeah, he was our coach at all the big tournaments. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, and so you describe that sense of relief, but it must have been just in a sense of achievement. You've been doing this sport since you were 5, and how old were you when you qualified and went to the Olympics?
21, 22, yeah.
So, the vast majority of your life, you've been aiming for this moment. Yeah. Can you just describe that feeling? I mean, how did you tell people, what did things change?
It's kind of a weird one, hey, because I qualified and then I wasn't overly happy. I was relieved, but it was more that I kind of knew I was going to qualify. Like, there was no doubt in my mind. I trained so hard that I kind of knew I'd qualify. So it was more of a, now I'm qualified, but I knew I was going to qualify anyway, just because, I don't know, I was just very one-track minded. Like, I'm going to train so hard that there is going to be no way in the world that I'm not going to qualify.
Okay.
So it was a bit weird. It was like, cool, done. Now let's move on to the Olympics. Like, it wasn't a crazy, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I made it. Like, I kind of, we're going to. So, yeah.
Yeah. And is that just the mechanics of the qualification, or was that just your mindset?
I think it was just my mindset, because anything can happen at any time in judo.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Even in the final match, the guy dropped for like a drop fireman's carry.
Yeah.
And I kind of defended it. And then he rolled me over my back, but the referee didn't score it. But the referee could have easily, maybe not easily. It was one of those ones of, was it a score? Was it not? But if it was a score, I would have lost the match and not gone. So, it's one of those ones of, judo's, anything can happen at any time.
Yeah. Fascinating. And then, so you get selected, you go abroad 3 times, you do the training, and then the Olympics are on. So talk to us about getting to Beijing. What's it like? What's the accommodation like? And I saw a picture on Instagram you put up of you at the opening ceremony. To describe everything behind that picture and the road to that picture.
Well, that was actually the closing ceremony.
Oh, sorry, closing.
Only because I was on judo's in the first week, and I'm the lowest weight division, so I'm day 1.
Yeah, right.
So day 1, and so but the Olympics in general is incredible. There's famous people, like, but it's funny when I talk to kids at school now, like, there were so many famous people, like Ian Thorpe. They're like, who's Ian Thorpe?
Who's that dude? Yeah.
So I met so many people. I met like Messi, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant was there.
Wow, that's cool.
That was when it was like when you saw the dream team.
Yeah.
Then you're like, whoa, like we're at the Olympics. Because even Roger Federer, and that's like the dream team, and he's taking photos. Like, even Federer's taking photos of the dream team. That's when you know that there's famous people in town.
Was this in the opening ceremony?
Like, it was in the cafeteria.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, so me and my friend Brownie, who made the weight division above, he qualified the weight division above, we would just hang out all day in the cafeteria. There's Leighton Hewitt, there's Casey Delacroix, there's Ian Thorpe, and there's Cadell Evans, like so many, the Williams sisters, and we go and get photos with them, all that sort of stuff. But then I was on day 1 of the Olympics, so because I just sauna to make weight. Oh, I had to make weight. I actually didn't sauna for Beijing. I just ran and skipped.
Yep.
And, made weight. So the opening ceremony, you get home at like 1, 2 a.m. and we had to weigh in at 6 a.m. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I just weighed in and then competed. So the closing ceremony was where's that photo?
That photo came from. Yeah, cool. And what was sorry, mate.
So the weird thing is judo's all done on one day. So you have 6 fights all in one day, or 5 fights. You either, I lost first round to a guy from Greece, but on day 2 or day 3 of the Olympics, you meet other Aussies. They're like, have you competed yet? I'm like, oh, I'm been and done like yesterday. They're like, what do you mean you finished in one day? Yeah. They're like, that's weird. So day 2 of the Olympics, my Olympic career is finished. Like, it's really weird. Where other sports, you play a soccer game a day for the first week, and judo is just, even boxing, you have one fight, then you fight the next day and the next day. If you're winning, judo's all in one day, so it's a bit different. Yeah,
absolutely. And so talk us through that fight with the guy from Greece and sort of how it went down and what you felt afterwards and all the context.
Yeah, so I fought this Greek guy, and I was still pretty young in my judo. Like, I still didn't, like, I showed the kids in my class the other day, like, the fight, and I'm just watching it going, oh, man, I had no idea what I was doing. Still, at that level, I had no deep understanding of judo. For London, I was a triple times better judo player, but I didn't qualify. And even now, I'm a quadruple better player now. Just like we do, you know so much more, but your body just can't hang on, or you mentally just can't hang on, or life goes on. But so I drew a guy from Greece first round, and he was a Georgian that fought for Greece, and he was really good at pickups, and he was really tall, and I fight a bit bent over because I was like a fireman's carry, double leg sort of judo player. So I was fighting a bit bent over, and he just pretty much grabbed my leg and threw me with a throw called Obiotoshi. That's like a hub rally thing. And I was a little bit annoyed because we spent so much time in Japan that they don't do throws like Georgians do. Like, we spent so much time in Japan that you fight a classical style of judo.
Yeah.
there's only one Japanese per weight division at the Olympics. Like, where if you go to Europe, there's so many different styles of judo, and there's Russians and Georgians, and there's, all different styles. So I kind of wish if I went back, I'd spend more time in Europe than I would in Japan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I lost the match. He threw me on my back. That was it. Game over.
Yeah.
I just wanted another crack. Like, I was just like, I just want one more crack just to have a go. But judo, he lost next round to the world champion. So I got eliminated from the tournament. So that was it. So I was pretty sad.
Yeah.
I always tell people that fighting at the Olympics is like getting the interview for your dream job. Like, you got the interview, but you didn't get the job. Like, I really wanted to get a medal, but you go there and have a shot, but you just don't get it. Like,
and then what was the plan sort of after that? I suppose you mentioned the next Olympics. Did your focus then change? All right, 4 years time, it's my time.
Yeah. So then after the Olympics, I got married. So I think in December we got married, my wife and I, and then I enrolled in university to become a primary school teacher. So then I started doing, and then London I always wanted to go to 2 Olympic Games, so I started training towards London, and then in 2010, in 2009 I won a really big tournament that no Australian guy has won, which is really cool. And
what tournament's that?
It's called the Pac Rim Championship. So it was just like
I read about that.
Yeah, so I won that tournament, and beat a Japanese guy in the final, that sort of stuff, which is really cool. And then in 2010, judo changed the rules. So fireman's carries were now illegal, double legs were now illegal. And that was my main style of judo, was double leg fireman's carries. So I'd go to training and I couldn't throw a green belt with any throw, because I was so honed in on fireman's carries and double legs and pickups. So then I was thinking about switching to wrestling, because in wrestling you can do double legs and fireman's carries and that sort of stuff. But I stuck with judo, and then tried to, was doing my degree at the same time as uni, at the same time as trying to make London. And tried to make London, but didn't get there. And then after I missed out on London, a month later I tried to make it for wrestling, because we qualified.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I was super fit, just missed out by a little bit. But the guy that beat me was a phenomenal judo player, Arnie Dickens, like very, very good judo player. Like, he just kept getting better and better. It was a really good judo player. So he beat me in the final. He went to the Olympics. And then about 3 weeks after that tournament that I lost to qualify, the president of ACTU Wrestling rang me and said, "Matt, we've qualified. Australia's qualified 1 spot for the Olympics, and it's your weight division. Do you want to have a shot?" So I was like, yep. Right. So went straight back into wrestling, got the tights on, and went back into wrestling, because I wrestled a little bit in like high school and stuff. And then I lost both my matches at the nationals. So a guy called Farzad qualified Australia the spot. But for a lot of sports, you don't qualify the spot. You qualify your nation the spot, and the nation choose who to send.
Wow, it's like the Australian political party. You sort of win the spot and they decide. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it happens in like in the moment, like in Japan, they take the top 18 in the world, but if there's 3 Japanese, it'll drop to the top 21 in the world, because they can only send 1. So in some divisions at the moment, or even like Russians and Georgians, some of them are like 1st, 2nd, 3rd in the world, but only 1 can go to the Olympics.
Yeah,
so
okay.
So you qualify the nation. So this wrestler, Farzad, he qualified Australia the spot, and then he had to go to the nationals to reclaim the spot he qualified.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
And I think the rules was, if he wins, he goes. If he comes any other place, the next day, whoever wins that nationals, they fight him the best out of 3. Yeah, he won the nationals and he got to qualify for the Olympics. So pretty cool. But I had a shot, didn't get there.
But mate, talk us through transitioning from competing for Olympic judo and then Olympic wrestling, like just the mechanics of that. Is it like, apples and oranges, or we're pretty close?
Oh, big time. Like, I wrestled, I placed 2nd at the nationals in 2010.
Okay.
Wrestling. So I've wrestled enough to place at the nationals, but it's definitely a lot different. I like fireman's carries. I like double legs back then. But really I was still clutching at straws. Like the top wrestlers, they're very good. Yeah. Really good. But I fought Farzad once before. We've had a few matches. He beat me in 2010, I think, for the gold medal.
Yeah.
So I was clutching at straws, but hey, I was fit.
Give it a crack, for sure.
It was my weight division. I was still light on weight. I wasn't heavy, so I thought I may as well. You got nothing to lose. But at that nationals, all the 66 kilo guys all cut weight to 60 kilos. So it was all the best 60 kilo guys and all the best division above all in one. There was so many top dudes in that division. It was amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so whilst this is happening, you said you're going to university, and the plan, and you said Olympics, and then you're gonna go to uni, and the plan was to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Primary school teacher, I assume.
Yeah. So I became a teacher. Yeah.
Awesome. And how, I assume that you're great at teaching because you've grown up surrounded by teachers, coaches, mentors at literally the best levels that you can get. Is there a similarity there between coaching a martial arts and what you do in the classroom?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like I think I was already also coaching kids classes from 15 onwards.
Yeah. Okay.
Stuff. So yeah, there is similarities. You just got to love kids and have fun with kids and have fun and joke around with them and get to know them. And I think that's it's fun. It is fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, I just looked at the clock. We haven't talked about jiu-jitsu once yet, which is great. I love it. So if you're still listening, you're welcome. So Matt, when does BJJ come on the scene for you?
Yeah. So as I was trying to make Beijing, I was working at a gym called the Underground Gym in Western Creek, which had Krav Maga, Taekwondo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, kickboxing. It was called the Underground Gym, or Determination Fitness Center. It was the best job. I still miss it today.
Yeah.
So what's this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu thing? And John Will ran a seminar there. I remember meeting him. And I'm like, oh, this is just groundwork, like judo. It's the exact same. Because back then it kind of was. Like back then, it was just judo. Like, but now it's evolved into Spider Guard, X Guard. Like it's just next level. It's jiu-jitsu now. It's not judo anymore, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, and I went along there and just did groundwork for a little bit. And then I just dabbled in it on and off.
Yeah.
And then we went to the ANU, because at that stage, the highest belt in Canberra was a blue belt.
Yeah.
And which was Danny Weir, which he runs Epic in Woden there.
Yeah.
Philip. And there was like Ben Langford and Roger and all these guys still do jiu-jitsu now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're all black belts and stuff like that. So yeah, and then I just started dabbling in jiu-jitsu just as a supplement to judo. So we talked about before about competitive training.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets hard having to constantly go to judo and be competing. So I went and did wrestling because it was fun. I could joke around at wrestling and have fun. I could go to jiu-jitsu and just joke around and have fun. It's like judo, but it's fun, where judo was serious. There was no fun at judo. It was just serious. So I just dabbled in jiu-jitsu and just had fun with it. And and then I met Daniel Kelly, 2007, and he fights in UFC. He's been to 4 Olympics for judo. And he said if he discovered jiu-jitsu 10 years ago, he would have started it then because it's so good for your ground game. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to do jiu-jitsu every week now. So I just kind of started from there.
Yeah, cool. And so when did you start full-time jiu-jitsu?
I kind of just did it all the time.
Yeah, okay.
Like with mates and stuff like that. So I don't really know when I did it full-time. I kind of just did it.
Yeah. And it mustn't have taken you long, based off your grappling background, wrestling as well as judo, to quickly advance up your belt ranks.
Yeah, that's right. So I started competing straight away at purple belt. Just because it's a bit unfair competing at blue belt when I was high level, especially this is back in the day when jiu-jitsu wasn't that popular. Like a tournament would be like 100 people, but now there's 600 people. Like it was still developing in Australia. So I did heaps of tournaments, and I won heaps of tournaments.
Yeah.
With literally just judo. Like,
yeah.
And then I started playing jiu-jitsu. Then I didn't win a tournament for ages.
Yeah.
Because I started playing jiu-jitsu, I was good at judo and I could win jiu-jitsu tournaments. But when I started playing jiu-jitsu, I would lose all the time. But then I started winning. So it kind of took a bit of developing my jiu-jitsu. So my judo was winning tournaments.
Yeah.
But my jiu-jitsu wasn't winning jiu-jitsu tournaments. But now my jiu-jitsu wins jiu-jitsu tournaments, which is really cool.
You got to break that down for people for us. So yeah. I can kind of get that with your. So is this before or after Beijing?
After.
This is so after Beijing.
Yeah, I get confused. I think my first jiu-jitsu tournament was 2007. I think I was a purple belt.
Okay.
I get confused.
So you immediately enter competition jiu-jitsu as a purple belt, which is pretty phenomenal, I must say. You sort of just, you jump in there. And it makes sense that you're dominating because of your lifetime of judo background. You're competing at the Olympic levels. That makes sense. So what then is the difference to playing a jiu-jitsu game? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, well, like heaps of the judo guys, you just throw someone and lay on them for 5 minutes, right? Or you throw them, scramble, stand up, throw them. So you're winning through just sheer throwing or sheer, like, and there's do you know Travis Stevens, a jiu-jitsu guy, judo black belt?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, there's videos of him entering jiu-jitsu tournaments and he's pulling guard. And everyone's like, he's an Olympic judo player. And he said, I do jiu-jitsu to work on my jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't want to be winning tournaments throwing. That's what judo's for, even though it's a ground game of judo. But he's pulling guard, he's leg locking people. Because he said jiu-jitsu, I want to win through jiu-jitsu. And so for me, I was winning tournaments through fireman's carries and throwing guys and all that, but I wasn't submitting anyone. So then I started, submitting people. And my coach that gave me my purple belt, Adam, I competed, it must have been a purple or brown belt. And he said to me, hey, Matt, you're a jiu-jitsu guy. You actually started to you're looking like a jiu-jitsu guy now. But before you were just a judo guy and a jiu-jitsu gi. But now you look like you can do jiu-jitsu, like, because there is a difference, I can play a bit of spy guard, I can play X guard, I can play some De La Riva and that sort of stuff, where before I was wrecking dudes, just throwing them and laying on them and mauling them into some sort of armbar. But now I've got finesse and smoothness, at least I hope I do.
Yeah, okay.
So it's that element between, and I remember one of the tournaments I did, I got a guy in mount and I was winning 10-0 and I thought, I can just lay on him. And he won't escape and I'll just win the match. And I thought, as I was on him, I thought to myself, Matt, you're doing jiu-jitsu, work a sub. Like, actually sub the guy. You can hold him for 5 minutes and win the match, but that's not going to get you better at jiu-jitsu. It's got to be a boring match and you're not going to develop. So I started going for a collar choke and he bridge and rolled and I was like, Matt, don't, but I'm actually doing jiu-jitsu because I want to sub people, not to just win matches. So, but that's because I'm now going back into I want to develop as a martial artist opposed to winning tournaments.
Yeah. And it must...
If I had that mindset 10 years ago, when the Judo Federation removed my leg grabs, I would have had more attacks to win more tournaments with. But because I was so focused on winning using 3 movements, when those movements are taken away, I had nothing left. So I was more of a martial artist and more, okay, Matt, I'm good at those 3 moves. Now let's work these 3 moves. And if I get injured or you have an operation or you get a bit slower because you get older or you get weaker, what are you going to fall back on? So I found after my judo career, once I stopped doing power weight training, once I stopped doing sprints, once I stopped doing box jumps, once I stopped doing speed training, I realized my technique sucked. I just won through determination, speed, and fitness. I didn't win necessarily through technical prowess and ability. So, because I was winning tournaments, it's masked when you win tournaments. That, you're really good at technique. You're good at whatever because you win tournaments. It's not actually accurate. So anyway, so that's the difference between judo guys I always kind of say, like, jiu-jitsu is there you don't just throw and stand up, throw and stand. That's not jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is you got to get a submission. So,
This makes, I mean, if we've come full circle, at the very start, I was so confused when you were talking about, jiu-jitsu and then this sort of competition jiu-jitsu, and you're like, I can, competitions there that you can train to just win competitions. This is exactly what you're talking about now. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. And do you have students that are purely just there for the competition and not there for the recreational, the learning of becoming this full jiu-jitsu player? And do you try to get them to be more holistic, or you just you give them what they want to focus on?
I actually think because of my experience, they are competitive, but they've taken my advice to keep learning. Don't fall into the trap of, because all it takes is one knee reco and your speed's gone. One shoulder operation and all of a sudden your power's gone. So I've definitely got some competitive guys that wreck me. Literally, my students, some of them are just destroying me now, which is awesome. But it's like, okay, you're destroying me with your best moves. Now start destroying me with your 3rd and 4th best moves. Let's remove those ones. And I always kind of say, I hate using the word belts, but you kind of say in jiu-jitsu, it's good to know, like, if you get someone in a triangle, like, don't sub them with a triangle. Just do a triangle, then an armbar. then switch it to an omoplata, then let them re-roll and come up to S mount. And sometimes I roll for weeks without subbing anyone. But does that matter? No, because I'm flowing and I'm getting the chain of attacks, and that's what's really important. Because as you're fighting better and better people, you're not going to sub them at step 1. You're going to sub them at step 10. So you've got to continually allow them to escape, and flow with them. But if you're competitive, I subbed him 5 times. Well, that's cool. But what if you can't sub him 5 times with the same move? So what's your next move? What's your next move? Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. I love how you describe that as being a true martial artist. You know what I mean? And a real sort of stoic and humbled and open-minded approach to it. When did Matt D'Aquino arrive to this sort of mindset?
Way too late. Way too late. 100% way too late. Because for years I grew up with like I could beat you, so you literally can't teach me anything. There'd be those, they'd be like those older guys come in, they like give you some sort of advice. You go, and you literally go, shut up, old man, I can smash you. Like you got right. And now I look back and go, oh man, I remember he taught me that 20 years ago. Now I'm teaching it now. Imagine if I took it on back then, what sort of player would I be then? I'd be a way better judo player, way better. But I was just if you win tournaments, it masks your mistakes.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you lose, what are the mistakes? What am I working on? But if you win all the time, you lose that. Unless
absolutely.
Someone can actually tell you, yes, you won, but look at all these problems you made and let's actually address them. So I remember I did a tournament once, 2010 junior nationals for judo. I did the same move every match. Same move, throw. I won the match. Next one, same move, throw. Same move, throw. Same move, throw. And that's all I did. Then I won the nationals. Everyone was like, yeah, great job. And I was like, I fought terribly. I did one move the entire every match. Then the next tournament I went in, I said to my wife on the drive there, I said, I need to do other attacks. I ended up winning the tournament in the final. I won by a really small amount against a German guy that was living in Brisbane. But I said, but I was doing shoulder throws and hip throws and leg attacks. I was doing groundwork. And even though I won by a little bit, I was way better.
Yeah.
Showed actually what I can do. So, but even if I lost that tournament, I would have performed better. And we really want to be performance-based, not result-based. So
yeah, I love it. That's so profound, man. And it's something. I would say it's it's just I can hear you becoming wise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Through all these life lessons, and I just can't help but to think what an amazing thing that you can give to people now. Use my journey to better you, and let me make you a better person now. Don't wait till you go through the experiences I've gone through. That's so profound. That's really cool.
Well, some of my students, they know way more than I did. Like quadruple the amount of knowledge I knew at the same age, because I've just given it all to them, and now they're taking it and they're like, I just tell it because jiu-jitsu, I teach you De La Riva and someone else reverse De La Riva, and in 6 months they're teaching me. Hey Matt, I've taken what you taught me and I've learned this. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like I don't know everything, but then they're teaching me, and now I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So it's just really cool.
That is super cool. So Matt, talk us through when you get your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Now, this has got to be a strange thing compared to the normal people I speak to on this show, because you've been such a world-class black belt in judo already. So, and then you start a purple belt so it's a bit of an unorthodox story. So talk us through your brown and then how you get to your black belt.
Yeah. So my coach Philippe. So I met Philippe probably 7-8 years ago. Philippe Grez from Jiu-Jitsu Kingdom. And just really liked him, liked his approach to jiu-jitsu, liked the fact that when he runs seminars, he goes 3 hours overtime every time. He just loves people, loves jiu-jitsu. He can break it down. And he really helped shape to me. He always, in all his seminars, he goes, okay, this will work if you're bigger and stronger than them. But we want to be beating bigger, stronger people that are better than us. That's like that's technique, is beating bigger, stronger, and better people than us using this technique. If this technique doesn't work on someone your size, great. Doesn't work on someone bigger, or doesn't work on someone bigger than you, then don't do it. Like only do stuff that doesn't require speed, strength, power, flexibility. He calls it like no attribute jiu-jitsu.
Oh, I love that.
So, some moves are like, oh, you got to be flexible to do this. well, you got to be strong to do this. You've got to have really good leg distance. No, he's like, to remove all that. We want to be teaching people jiu-jitsu, which is the foundation of just technique overcomes power through leverage and timing. So anyway, he really helped reshape my judo teaching and my jiu-jitsu teaching and my approach to it all. So it was really cool. So I met him and we got along really well. So I came under him. He offered me my brown belt a while ago because I'd won a lot of purple belt tournaments. And I said, no, like I'm definitely not a brown belt yet. So I turned him down and then he's like, okay. And I wasn't sure whether he got annoyed at me. And I think maybe 2 years later, when I developed a lot more, like my jiu-jitsu I looked more, he awarded me my brown belt. And then 3 years later, he awarded me my black belt. And even then I was a bit like, oh, I don't think I'm a black belt. I don't know enough. And he goes, Matt, you'll never know enough. Like there's no, you're constantly learning. We're constantly white belts, you know? And I was like, okay, well, but you don't have to, like, it's like, you know, so he awarded me my black belt and it was really cool. And I'm proud to be he's given out 3 black belts and I'm one of them. And I'm proud to be a black belt that's coming under him for sure.
That's cool. That's cool. And when you say he offered you your brown belt, did he say like, hey Matt, I think you should be a brown belt? Or was it an awkward presentation? You're like, no, I'm good. Thanks.
Oh, well, yeah, because we're just chatting. I did, when I went to jiu-jitsu training, when I started, I wore a white belt. I didn't wear a black belt I wore a white belt. Ben Turnbull from Roots gave me a blue belt.
Okay.
My judo coaches ran a gym and then Adam Saunderson gave me a purple belt. And then, and so I was competing, even though I was a blue belt officially, I was competing at purple. I even competed at black belt.
Did you really?
Some tournaments, yeah. And then I competed at some, because for one tournament I competed at black belt because it was Abu Dhabi trials and the divisions were under 85 kilo purple belt or over 85 kilo purple belt.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I'm 65 kilos. There's no way I can win under 85 kilo purple belt. But the black belt division was under 65 kilos. And I was like, I have a better shot at winning under 65 kilo black belt than I do at 85 kilos. So I lost by penalty against a guy called Gustavo Pinto, who's been to 3 Abu Dhabis.
Yeah.
Very good Brazilian. He beat me by a little bit. And then, but yeah, so anyway, Felipe said, you've been competing at purple belt for a really long time, like 7 years or something. I think it's time for a brown belt. I was like, oh, nah, like, you know, and he said, I actually really like that you said no, because it shows I'm actually not about the belt. And I'm not, like, it's just a belt and 4th degree black belts. It just doesn't mean anything. And what I really like is at my club, on Monday nights, I run a fundamentals section and a advanced jiu-jitsu, but we call it choose your own adventure because I hate saying white and blue belts over here and purple belts over here. Because let's be honest, purple belts sometimes, or any person, I might have knowledge gaps over here that person has, and we all have knowledge gaps all over the place, right? So at our club, we call it choose your own adventure. So we go, hey guys, tonight Rich is teaching knee right escapes and Matt's over here teaching side control escapes. Choose your own adventure. And some white belts will go, oh, I'm pretty good at knee right escapes, but my side control escapes suck. And the brown belts go, oh man, my side control is pretty good, but my knee right sucks. So it's choose your own adventure because there's no such thing as a black belt move and a white belt move, and it's just all nothing.
Yeah.
But what I like about it is when I first got my black belt, these people come in and I go, hey guys, tonight James is running arm bars from guard and I'm running. So we do like submissions. He's doing arm bars from guard and I'm doing ankle locks. And I have, even though I missed a black belt, I'll have 6 people come to me and 15 will stay with the blue belt.
Yeah.
Because at my club, it's not about the belt. And I love the fact that people aren't like, oh, well, I'm going to go with the black belt because he's a black belt. People go, they're really rewarding knowledge rather than a person's belt. And so that's what I love about my club. Like everyone can teach everyone. And we're not going, I just really like that approach. And I think, so Philippe was going, yeah, so I'm not a belt hunter. I'm just a knowledge gatherer. And,
yeah, that's cool. I love that concept.
Yeah. So, well, one of my coaches, he just said, nah, don't separate the belts because it's just stupid because we all have knowledge gaps. I got blue belts teaching me some leg lock stuff.
Yeah.
I got some of my blue belts, and I've removed that completely. I have some people who teach me knee right escapes. I have some people who teach me leg locks, regardless of belt. Doesn't matter. The white belts teach me stuff because they're a person that knows stuff that I don't. They teach me. So Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool.
And do you think you've come to that because you came to jiu-jitsu at such a high caliber of grappling? You know what I mean? So that you didn't have to go through the traditional, I was a white belt, I knew nothing, and then I learned some stuff and I was a blue. You kind of came with such a background of knowledge, or is this just something that's sort of come to you?
I think I'm pretty, like, I'm humble. Like, I'm a humble person. And I think I've just realized the mistake of not respecting someone's knowledge just because of the belt they wear.
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, respecting someone because of the belt they wear, even though they're a horrendous human being.
Yeah.
Right. So don't be a belt. Like, people, I say, I honor someone for who they are, not for what belt they have.
Mm.
So I actually respect you for who you are, not for what belt you have.
Mm.
So if someone comes in and goes, oh, I'm a black belt, can I run your classes? No, I don't even know who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Or, and so it's just really important. So I just respect, and people know stuff. And
Yeah.
I've learned so much stuff from people that have done jiu-jitsu for 6 months because they watch videos. Hey, Matt, I saw this really cool sweep from guard. I'll show us. Oh, I've never seen that before. Like, it's just, rather than going, shut up, you don't know anything. Like, so I think the more open you are and the more humble you are, actually more you learn.
Yeah.
And the more people feel like they have a voice and that sort of stuff. And rather than saying, I'm the boss and everyone do it my way, because there's no such thing as, like, my way. Like, the principles of every move don't change, but the applications can change. There's no one way to do anything.
Yeah. It's a very egalitarian approach to it. You know what I mean? And in many ways, it's sort of very aligned with the concept of jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, I get a blue belt. You assume that I know a certain amount of things. You assume that I can hold my own with blue belt, purple, et cetera, et cetera. But you're kind of flipping it from an instructional perspective. You know what I mean? Just because I wear a blue belt doesn't mean I can't teach someone that's higher, which I think a lot of people will find very uncomfortable. But maybe I mean, this could be where jiu-jitsu is at. When with such an integration of all these different grappling arts. I love it. I think it's such a fascinating approach to it, and I love that concept. Just because I don't have a belt, don't judge me. Just because I do have a belt, don't judge me. It's wait till you get to know me, and then you can judge me. You're gonna apply that to life. It's not just jiu-jitsu. I love it. What a great concept.
Yeah, that's right. Because I mean, I've been wrecked by some blue belts.
Yeah.
And then I've wrecked some black belts, and you go, who cares? He tried his best, and I tried my best. How cool are we that we both tried our best? That's the respectable part, not the winning or the losing. It's just the fact that that's why the bow at the start of a judo match signifies, I'm going to give it my all, you're going to give your all, and thank you for this opportunity to give it our all to each other.
Yeah. I love it. And it reminds me a lot. I was reading a lot about you and about what you do out at your gym, and you speak about you combine the grappling arts. And I suppose that's, maybe that's why you'll have to tell us that's where Beyond Grappling came from. You're combining judo, you're combining wrestling, and you're combining jiu-jitsu. Is this a kind of a hybrid thing that you're teaching out there?
Well, see, judo and jiu-jitsu is the same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing. Like, it's the same thing. It's all technique overcomes power through technique, leverage, and timing. That's it. It's all the same. It's just applied a little differently. What I liked about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is it was the judo started. Jigoro Kano didn't like leg locks, so he kind of removed them. He didn't like ground grappling, and he actually said something along the lines of, that's what apes and animals crawl on the ground, and we don't do that. So that was his kind of, anyway, but and then sport judo came in and removed the scissor leg takedown and removed slams from guard. And obviously safety reasons, yes. But then sport judo came in and changed a lot of rules. They removed fireman's carries. They removed leg grabs. But jiu-jitsu is the follow-on of that. There is leg locks and there's wrist locks. There's no wrist locks in judo at all. Jigoro Kano wasn't interested in. So I love that jiu-jitsu and judo started at the same, and it's actually the same thing. It's the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
And the focus is just a little bit different. Yeah. So even in our, like on Tuesday nights, I always say to people, like Mod likes teaching wrestling. I'm like, well, he actually, on Tuesday nights, he runs a no-gi class. I'm like, he actually doesn't teach wrestling. He's not a wrestler. He's a jiu-jitsu guy that teaches no-gi stand-up. That doesn't make it wrestling. Wrestling is wrestling, and no-gi stand-up in wrestling is just jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, so grappling and all that sort of stuff. So and I think it's beyond, because I want to teach beyond the sport. I want to teach goal setting. I want to teach resilience. We want to teach healthy eating, healthy lifestyle, getting out there and trying your best. So we're teaching this character development opposed to the skills of judo. Because we all know people that are really good at any sport, and you wouldn't want your kids to be any of those people because they're arrogant, nasty, mean people. You know, I want all of our coaches are people that I would love my kids to be. So that's why they're my coaches. And so we're teaching leadership and responsibility and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's just, that's what's beyond grappling. It's more than just judo. If you want to come to our club for judo or jiu-jitsu, then you're missing out because you're going to learn so much more than that.
That's really cool. And you can pick that up. I was going to ask you, I spent some time looking at your blogs on your website on the beyondgrappling.com. And you are, I would say, a prolific blogger. There is a lot there.
Yeah.
And you've been doing it for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to start blogging until they realize it gets pretty boring after the first few. How have you stuck with it for so long? What drives you to educate through these means?
When I used to do judo trips, we'd go away and say I got funded. The government would give me $3,000. I could go to Japan for a month. But while I'm in Japan for a month, I still got a phone bill. I still have rent. I still have insurance to pay. I still have a phone bill. And so I needed to make money somehow. So a friend of mine, and I was blogging for ages, and a friend of mine wrote the first ever paleo diet cookbooks. And she said, hey, Matt, how about you start blogging? How about you gather a newsletter? And if you want to put something together, I'll help you sell it. And I'll show you how to set up all online. So that's how I got started. But I like reading. And so I love writing. I love reading. That's why I write books. I'm a bit of an entrepreneur. I have all these different ideas and I write them all down. And my wife says yes. My wife says no. Don't do that one. That one's good. Don't just worry about the ones you've got written down and stop writing down all these ideas because I don't have enough time to do it all. She's like my filter. But, And so, and I just wrote, and I didn't write to make money. I just wrote because it would help people. And I get emails all the time of how much my videos and DVDs and have helped people. And that's kind of all it's all about. And the reason why I wrote stuff is because when I grew up, I read every book in my state in the library, every judo book. I read them all. I wanted more information, but there was none out there. So I would write it so that now people that are in my situation, like my students, they know way more than I did at their age because I've invested back into the community with all the information I have. So and I just like helping people and coaching and teaching and I just like writing.
Yeah. That's really cool. I love it. And it's such a wide range of topics, listeners. If you want to go and check out everything and anything about the grappling arts, then definitely check out these blogs because you will not run out of things to read. Yeah,
actually, I was going to say, so the reason why I was saying when we were on trips is some trips I would read 10, 12 books, which is great. But what I ended up doing was rather than reading 10 or 12 books, I would write a book. And so although I was away not making money, I was spending money at home on stuff. I was slowly developing an online presence where I could make money. So I'd go away for 1 month and I'd make $200. Well, that's cool because that $200, rather than sitting around like people on judo trips, I just watched, or even in the military, 16 seasons of Friends. Fun, right? Yeah. When you could actually be doing something that is going to help me out at home. So I started blogging. So while they were watching 10 seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, I'm blogging and writing stuff that would hopefully one day help people, but actually help me drive an income as well. Yeah, that makes sense. That's really cool. And Matt, you know, you're such an amazing story of such a really cool journey that's not finished, obviously, and there's more to go. But when you look back now at what you've been through, what are your highs and what are your lows? Yeah. I think my first high is getting my black belt in judo. So when I was 18, I got my black belt, which is really cool. Tell us about getting a black belt in judo. Is there a lot of tradition behind it? What's the ceremony like? So there's 5 streams you can get your black belt. There's the competitive stream, which is the main one. Then there's the kata. If you do a few katas, you can get enough points. But pretty much, then there's knowledge and service to coaching, that sort of stuff. But you do tournaments and you gather a certain amount of points in 2 years. So you got to win tournament matches pretty much. So I did that and I got my black belt. My coach gave me my black belt when I was 15 and I had it on my shelf and I looked at it every day, like one day, and it's got my name on it. One day, and it's really old and tattered. I've got to stop wearing it. One day I'm going to wear that. And so I finally, got my black belt, so I got to wear it. And even when I got my jiu-jitsu brown belt, I bought the brown belt 3-4 years before I got one, and I have it hanging up in my shed. And so I just do jiu-jitsu in the shed, and as a purple belt, my brown belt would be there. And then, and when I got my brown belt, my friend Liam, one of my coaches, said, "Hey Matt, now you can finally wear that brown belt. It's been hanging in your shed for 4 years." And so,
That's cool.
all the vote that I had for 4 years, and now I got to give that to one of my good friends who's now we promoted him to brown belt. And so, I actually didn't buy a jiu-jitsu black belt though, but I kind of like the idea of I just had it there for so long.
Yeah.
As a reminder, and although you're not going for the belt, it's just like a one day I will.
Yeah.
So I'm not aiming for belts, but one day I will. And it's even weird that I have 2 black belts in 2 different arts. It's just odd. It's just that's what dojo people have. Like it's just weird.
Yeah.
So that was my first highlight, my judo black belt. So you do tournaments, and then you do a kata, and then there's a panel of people ask you questions, and they go, do this move, do that move, teach us that move, and then you get your black belt. The other highlight was when I was 15. I competed at a tournament. I lost to a New Zealander, and then I lost to my friend Eva, and I placed nothing. I came 5th. And then that night I was really sad because that was just after I got my black belt. So I got my black belt, and they say it's the black belt curse. Is you spend so much time prepping for your black belt that you don't train hard. Then in your first tournament afterwards, you never win it. And I don't know many people that have won the first tournament after their black belt. It's literally a thing. And mainly because they spend more time not sparring but focusing on
Yeah.
And then I came nothing. So the curse happened. And then my mum said to me, Matt, I reckon tomorrow in the senior men, like the open weight division, I reckon you're going to do way better tomorrow. So give it your best shot. The next day, I beat a really strong Russian guy in the first round. I beat the 4 or 5-time national champion who's like 28 years old. Beat him in the final. I strangled him in like 30 seconds. And in the semi-final, I beat a guy called Stephen Gaddis who had never beaten before. So it was cool. That was a highlight because I lost one day, but my mum said, don't worry about it. I reckon tomorrow you're going to do way better. You got another chance. And I came back and I won. So that was a highlight.
That's cool.
My black belt. And then, winning the Pac Rim Championships is a highlight where I beat this Japanese guy in the final of everyone thought I was going to lose and I won. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. And what about your lows?
Oh, lows. Not qualifying for the London Olympics was definitely a low because I trained so hard and I was so much of a better judo player.
That would have been the frustrating part by the sounds of it because you knew that you were better than where you were in 2008.
Oh, yes, so much better, yeah. So that was definitely a low. And that's probably it.
Yeah.
Like this, it's all just fun.
Yeah, that's great.
And I mean, I go to national training camps and I see these young people trying to make the Olympics and I'm like, oh, your life's so cool because you don't really know how hard life really is. Like you're just training for yourself. You try and make the Olympics and it's awesome and it is hard, but it's got nothing on the rest of life. And,
So enjoy it. Enjoy it while
I enjoy it. Yeah. And that's it. And there's really no other lows. Really,
that's really cool.
Just making great friends and meeting awesome people and traveling the world. It's just so cool.
And would in retrospect, would you have done anything differently? You think?
I would have gone to Europe a bit more for training.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would have, like I said, learnt to be humble and learnt to study and to not work on your strengths, but really try to build on your weaknesses.
Yeah. That's a lesson that I don't think, I don't know if you can learn that lesson because someone else tells you, you know what I mean? I think you have to come to that in your own, everyone does, everyone gets there eventually.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the amount of people you must've told that and they just like, yeah, whatever, Matt, whatever. And then,
shut up, old man.
yeah, I'll get there, whatever. I'm going to win this comp first.
That's right.
Oh, that's great. And maybe started jiu-jitsu earlier, like you said.
Yeah. I think so as well. Yeah.
Cool. And Matt, so what's next for Matt DeQuino? What's the future look like?
Oh, hang out with my family.
Yeah.
And my wife and my kids. Just keep running the club and keep trying to just motivate and inspire kids and teenagers and adults to just chase their dreams. So what's next for the club is I really want to now start moving into that competitive stream, start finding and identifying, because I do love competition. You know, I still compete in jiu-jitsu now because and I like to show the way. So when people go, why are you competing in jiu-jitsu tournaments? I'm like, one, it's fun. And two, my kids have no excuse, as in my judo kids at the club. I don't want to compete because I do. So you can too. Like showing them the way, showing them how to win gracefully, showing them how to lose gracefully.
Yeah.
So really be that kind of role model. Just kind of keep growing the club, keep investing in all of them really, but helping the competitors get to that next level, whatever that may be.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And you're right. You know, you're leading by example. You put your videos up of your matches, you know, the matches that you win and the matches that you lose. And there's so
Yeah.
many comments on YouTube. I don't know if you see them. So many people going, Matt, you know, it just speaks volumes that you're putting this up of you losing this match. You know, so
Yeah.
for not only you to learn, but for everyone to learn from. So it's
But like you lose tournaments, right? Like
it has to
it's
happen.
funny that people don't. Like what? I don't know. I mean, I was talking to a coach the other day, and I said, "Man, I've got this blue belt at my club who he tapped me 10 times, and he was like, 'You've got a blue belt that taps you 10 times.' Like, I'm like, you don't understand me. This guy's like so strong and fast. He's got these long legs. And I'm like, I can't believe you're admitting that. I'm like, but that's the truth. If I didn't admit it, I would just be a liar. Like, we all lose. Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. And I think that's the reason why that blue belt, I mean, he's now purple. I fought him the other day. He tapped me another 10 times in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think he stays at our club because he knows, oh, Matt doesn't care. I'm actually investing, hey, man, like, you're so freaking good, but you need to work this, and this. And so do I. Like, we're all in this learning together. Like, I'm the leader of the culture and the club and the techniques, but I don't know everything and I can't know everything. So, yeah, it's kind of,
That's really cool. That's really
everyone
cool.
loses.
It's like the ultimate expression of leave your ego at the door. You know what I mean? It's the first thing I learned when I started jiu-jitsu, leave your ego at the door. And it's the first thing that I've learned that a lot of people say, but they don't actually do. You know what I mean?
And the thing is I want my kids to lose and try again.
Yeah.
And so if I don't embrace losing and trying again, then why would my students or my children themselves do that? Yeah. And so when I started competing, this year's judo nationals, I competed and I came fifth. I missed a lot of the top level guys, but I came fifth at the nationals in senior men in judo. And one of these, a guy I really respect, he said, "Matt, why are you competing?" And I said, "Oh, just for fun. Like, just because I've gotten better at judo and I want to see how I go. And I also want to make sure that my techniques are still relevant, that what I learned 10 years ago, is it still applicable? Has judo changed?" And he said, "But all those kids at your club look up to you. What if they see you lose?" And I went, "What if they see me lose? That's awesome."
Yeah.
Because they're going to see me lose and try again. Like that, what a message am I sending the students or my own kids if they see me lose? And what, they're not going to think I'm invincible? No one is. Like, but I saw, and then I realized, oh, that's why you retired really early. And that's why you don't spar the guys that can beat you at your club. Oh, that's why you don't. It all makes sense. You know, but if I avoid all the guys that bash me up at the club, I'm not going to get better. And they just think, why are you scared of me? You're only losing. So anyway, I think I've just embraced losing, you know.
It's fantastic. And you know, you can so easily apply that mindset, that mentality to anything in life. You know what I mean? It's, I just love it. I think it's fantastic. That's really
cool. My biggest strength in life is I just give stuff a try.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no kids book. I'm going to write one because I want to write one. I'll write one. I want to blog because I can. I want to because I can. I just try. And sometimes they bomb out. Oh, whatever. I just try. And if I get my kids and my students to try, who knows what they'll achieve in life.
That's so cool. Oh, I love it. Look, Matt, I gotta say thank you so much for running us through that story about the Olympics, everything around the Olympics, your journey too, but most importantly, your journey afterwards, because it wasn't your defining moment, but it was just one moment in this incredible story that's behind Matt D'Aquino. I've learned so much out of this, so much, and it's made me force, you know, while you're talking, I'm thinking about myself. I'm thinking about when I lose, not just in sport, but in life. And did I pick myself up? Did I take that opportunity? You know, and I just love, you know, this sense of just absolute humbleness that comes from your story, your application. And what I love most about it is it was hard fought. It wasn't something that you've just, you weren't a humble kid. It's something that you have learned through your journey. And what an amazing thing that you can give and you continue to give to people at the club and hopefully listens to this podcast and all your blogs and all your books and all your DVDs. I think it's an amazing lesson and an amazing story. And listeners, I hope that you have enjoyed this episode of Behind the Black Belt with Matt D'Aquino, half as much as I have, because I've certainly had a great time today. So look, if you are ever in Canberra, or if you're in Canberra right now and you're looking for somewhere to train, check out Beyond Grappling Club. You can find out all the information at www.beyondgrapplingclub.com, and you can find them on all the socials. Check out Facebook at Beyond Grappling Club. You can find Matt and also the club on Twitter at Beyond Grappling, and you can also find everything on Instagram. Look for Beyond Grappling. And you can also find the DVDs from Matt as well. Matt's DVDs and videos are on BJJ Fanatics and also judofanatics.com. You can find them incredibly easily, and just search Matt DeQuino on Amazon and you'll find a whole bunch of stuff there about goal setting, about Matt's Olympic journey. There's journals about how to train, a lot of cool stuff there that you can get all this goodness that is being described by Matt DeQuino. I think you'd be silly if you didn't. And Matt, mate, I can't thank you enough for being on the show, for giving up your time, and for just opening up and just describing this really, really cool journey to us. It's been an absolute pleasure for myself to be a part of it. Have you got any final words before we wrap up?
No, just keep training and having fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Matt DeQuino. Ladies and gents, until next time, this is Rich signing off for Behind the Black Belt.
Behind the Black Belt is proud to support veteran grappling. Veteran grappling is using the grappling arts to improve the lives of military veterans and first responders. Visit www.veterangrappling.com to learn about scholarship opportunities and more.
Join our community on Facebook and our website at www.behindtheblackbelt.com. Behind the Black Belt is a TDP Studios production. Behind the Black Belt is copyright of Richard Thapthing Thong and TDP Studios. The music used in this episode is Rocking Forward by X Take Rux and is used under an Attribution International 4.0 license.